ladies and gentlemen. This is Deep Issues, webisode number 21. It's day 5043 in the search for Tim Shovelday. Yeah, excuse me. Sorry about that. I think I'm gonna live. Just caught a jalapeno in the back of my throat there, but I'm all right. This is Deep
Is that
Issues.
a government-placed jalapeno?
It might be.
Given tonight's show.
They might be trying to silence me. Because tonight's episode is a revisiting of a past topic. And it is about the JFK and the Kennedy family conspiracies. Now, we've done a show about this before in the past. And it's kind of weird because we're going to rehash some of the stuff we talked about in that show, and we're also going to go pretty deep into it. So for those of you who listen to that other show, I apologize if we rehash stuff, but it's important. And for those of you that haven't, although I'm telling you we're going to rehash it, if you're really into this topic, you might want to go listen to that one as well and listen to this one, because we are going to tie some things together, at least attempt to tie some things together, and go a little bit deeper, because that's what we do here on Deep Issues, number 21. Like I said, I'm your host, Josh Houselander. With me tonight is Adam Hernandez, our producer, and Deep Issues expert, Ed Zaharsky. How's it going, guys? What's up?
It's going
Good.
Right on. Shall we delve into it?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right. Like I said, we did a show about this in the past. And in that show, we focused a lot on, like, the individual conspiracies, right, Adam? I mean, would that be a good, way to say it? We kind of talked about the individual, who was it? Was it the Mafia? Was it the CIA? Was it Cuba? Was it, what were some of these other things? Mm-hmm. And we may delve into some of that tonight, but that isn't so much going to be the direct focus. But I do want to start with this all boils down to, like Adam just said to us off air, this all boils down to the Zapruder film, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that is what it is. And listen, one conspiracy, and I definitely do consider this a conspiracy, that we're not going to give a whole lot of credence to tonight, is the idea that Oswald acted alone. Quite frankly, I think that is the most ridiculous conspiracy out there.
That's not a conspiracy, though.
It's the official story. But it would still be a conspiracy. I mean, it's, two or more people conspired, or three or more people conspired to put out a story. That is truly the only definition of a conspiracy. Conspiracy doesn't imply truth or falsehood. It implies nothing more than some people got together to try to push an idea.
I'm not one, and I know that, judging from all of us here on the show, I'm not one to fall for the conspiracy theory. Maybe fall for is the wrong way to put it. I don't usually believe in a lot of the conspiracy theory.
I mean, no, you're right, Adam.
I mean, whether
you look at
take our last one, whether it was the Dallas airport,
right?
I wasn't. Yeah, Denver. Excuse me. I wasn't someone that was totally on board with the whole New World Order type of thing with it.
And some of the things I brought up, you thought were just straight up crazy.
Yeah, like the Trump and Melania thing. Whatever. I think we all collectively agree, though, that there was something more than met the eye with it, mm-hmm. whether it was government bunker, whatever. This one, though, in the Zapruder film, is really one that got me. You look at it, and I said it. I thought it all boils down to the Zapruder film, and watching it, looking at it closely, and kind of just piecing everything together. I'm sorry, can I jump into it just
go for it, man. Yeah, let's do this.
Because if anybody hasn't watched it yet,
and we're not talking about the original Zapruder film that they showed on TV. We're talking about the one that was released later that is verified as absolutely positively original.
Exactly. And what's odd about this one, Josh, is when you piece everything together with it, when you piece together the shots being taken, the speed of the car, and then the driver,
Bill Greer,
you cannot help but begin to question what the hell the government was telling us to begin with and how that can still pass today. Because even if the driver, and I'm a believer now that Bill Greer was the one that the one that fired the kill shot and took off Kennedy's head.
And for those of you out there who have very little, introduction to this thing, you're going to say, like, really? These guys are going to tell us that the driver shot Kennedy? And we're going to say, really?
Yeah, the driver.
Telling you that the driver.
Ed, are you on board that it was the driver?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, good.
And once you see it, is it hard to see? Yes, it's hard to see. Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
No, you can't, because and the thing is too is even if it wasn't the driver, let's take the driver out of it. Let's say it wasn't the driver. It was somebody else involved with that motorcade. Somebody in that motorcade knew that Kennedy was going to be killed. Because think about this. Think about it in the sense that, say it was Trump or Obama or either one of the Bushes. I know we're going to get the Bushes here in a little bit. But say it was one of them. And just picture things today. President driving down the street in a motorcade, and all of a sudden shots are being fired. Do you think that car is going to be going at the same speed after that first shot is taking? Hell no. The car is going to be peeling out of there, probably running over a couple of people, bystanders, to get the president the hell out of there. But no, what happened? First shot is fired, it missed. Car still going at the same speed. Second shot is fired, hits Kennedy in the neck. Car still going at the same speed. Jackie O, in the meantime, is freaking the fuck out.
Trying to get out of the car.
Or trying to do something. I'm not, you know what?
Who knows? You're right.
She's freaking out.
Who knows what's in her mind?
Yeah. I mean, she just witnessed her husband get shot through the neck. All of a sudden, I want to take Greer out of this. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, half of Kennedy's head flies off or gets blown off. Then the car starts peeling out. Mm-hmm. Again, why would the car be peeling out after the third shot is taken? Why isn't the limo that he is in
after he's
leaving
visibly dead?
Yeah.
After there is no way. I mean, not trying to be unsympathetic here to something, but this is something that happened over 50 years ago.
Kennedy's been dead. Yeah.
So I mean, Kennedy was dead before any of us were born. So
it's not too soon.
Kennedy is deader than dead at this point. His brain is no longer in his body.
Well, half of it.
Yeah, some of it. At this point, okay, the one thing I cannot tolerate, that I will not even listen to anybody say, because there are some people, when they dissent against this idea that Adam just brought forward, they'll say, well, you don't know how you'd react in that situation. Spur them out like that. No. Stop it. Cut it out. The Secret Service of the United States of America are the best of the best. I know men personally who have, have perfect service records in the military, and they attempt to get into the Secret Service. They are the best of the best. Now, of the Secret Service, this large group of people who are the best of our military and police forces, these men are stone cold badasses.
That's their job.
That is their job. Now, of those men, of those Secret Service guys, the guy that drives the president's car is really the best of... He's the best of the best of the best. That guy is an unstoppable, badass killing machine. He doesn't get scared because he heard a gunshot. That's not the first time this dude has heard a gunshot. He knows what to do, and it isn't keep going 17 miles an hour down Dealey Plaza.
I mean, that's like the epitome, like, of the situation that they were that
right.
they
that's
have
what they're
jobs
trained
for.
to do. That's what they signed up for. That is absolutely positively what they were trained for. Yeah, I mean,
no, Josh, you're absolutely right. I mean, at the first hint of danger, you step up, your training kicks in, and you get the president the hell out of there.
Yeah.
You don't sit there and wait for shot 2 or shot 3.
Yeah, that guy, the big problem he should be having is, was it really necessary for you to run over 3 civilians to save the president's life? And him to be saying
2, yes.
Well, yes. that was my job. Yes, it was, actually. Yeah.
I again, and then you add Greer to the equation. And again, if you don't want to just yet, fine, but when you do, look at the tape.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the tape. Look at the position that Greer is taking. And then right after Kennedy is shot, you see Greer turn back around and start speeding away.
Right.
I mean,
no.
My only skepticism with that is you don't see any smoke coming from the gun.
Well, according to Bill Cooper,
but go ahead. Yeah.
According to Bill Cooper, that the reason you don't see any smoke coming from the gun is because it is, and this sounds crazy, it does, but that it is an electrically charged pneumatic powered gun.
Okay.
And if anyone knows anything about pneumatics, then yeah, there would be no sort of thing from that.
So there's no gunpowder.
Yeah, it's pneumatic powered, and this type of weapon does exist. So this isn't just, I mean, that may sound crazy that, oh, well, Bill Cooper's crazy. He thinks that there's aliens. He thinks that there's this. He thinks that, yeah, I mean, Bill Cooper has said a lot of things over the years. A lot of them have been very verified. But they're out there. But this type of weapon does exist, and it did exist in 1963. It's very possible. It's a one-shot gun, though. But when you are an absolutely positively trained badass, you're 3 feet away from somebody.
Say, when you're that close, you can't miss.
You don't need more than one shot. And just in case, for anybody out there who's still thinking that, well, no, it's Oswald. Of the few things that have been released since the 90s till 2017, that several other things have been released or have come out, one of the only things of merit that came out, because most of the stuff that came out last year that Trump released, garbage, useless, it's nothing we didn't already know. The stuff that came out in the 90s, yeah, but one of the only things that was decent that came out was the CIA memo from the 70s that came out in the 90s that said, yeah, the CIA had acknowledged fully that Oswald was not a lone gunman, and that they had looked into other possibilities of, so this could be, you could also, hey, you can make the argument there that say, hey, well, the CIA didn't do it. They're trying to find out. They're legitimately trying to find out in the 70s what the hell happened. Well, that could prove the CIA doesn't do it. If it actually just proves that not everyone in the CIA knew,
And Josh, the thing is too, I don't think anybody out there is wrong to believe that Oswald had something to do with it. I think Oswald certainly did have something to do with it. I think Oswald took the first shot. Oswald missed.
Have you seen the picture that also really, when Bill Cooper originally came out with this tape,
mm-hmm.
he also released the picture of the book depository while the motorcade is passing through on Dealey Plaza, the book depository, the front, and there is a man out front standing in the crowd that, well, according to Bill Cooper, is Oswald. He looks like him, body size, body shape. They've done, scientific analysis of body mass. Dressed the same way. It looks a lot like Oswald, standing up front,
So
minding his business.
he's maintaining that Oswald didn't take any shots.
No, that he wasn't even up in the tower.
Wasn't even up in the tower.
Wasn't up in the window. That he was actually out front.
Did he make?
Maybe he thought he was supposed to later. You know, and of all the strange things that they didn't have, I mean, Oswald's a strange character. You know, I mean, it's definitely true that he did not like JFK. He defected to the Soviet Union. He was a known communist. A couple months before the shooting in '63, he was in Mexico City, which basically Mexico City at that time was like, you know, the Las Vegas, Nevada for, you know, international terrorism and espionage. It was like the place to be, the place to hang out. He was in Mexico City. The day he visited the CIA, the Soviet embassy, a few months before this, was the only day that year that the camera was broke. They have no video of. They have him. Yeah, he was there. He signed in and stuff. But the camera was malfunctioning that day. But despite this, he tried to defect to the Soviet Union and gain citizenship. Despite this, the CIA knew all this, but they never followed him. They never trailed him. They never flagged him or interrogated him when him, his wife, and his daughter came back to the United States. Never did any of those things that any of that status crap that I can't stand that they do all the time. They didn't do it to Oswald. When he was arrested that day, the interview was not recorded. Basically unprecedented for the CIA to not record an interrogation interview. But that interview wasn't recorded. There was almost no notes. But of those few notes that they had that day, that didn't come out till the 90s again. Those didn't come out till the 90s either. The only thing of value in those notes was that Oswald repeatedly declared his innocence. I mean, he's caught. The CIA have him. And we know that he is a, communist working on Soviet defector. He's not owning this at all. He's completely denying that he had anything to do with it. Even though he's saying, yeah, well, I've been spoken to, and I was supposed to do something in a week from now, and, he's, saying kind of weird things, but he denies it. This isn't, like the guy that shot Reagan that was like, yeah, I did it for, what's the actress he did it for? Jodie Foster. Jodie Foster. Yeah, I mean, normally when somebody does something like this, they kind of, once they're caught, they kind of own it. They did it for a purpose, right? They're a man with a plan. They have a purpose. They wanted to assassinate the president. They didn't assassinate the president so they could deny it. They didn't really plan on getting away with it. But not him. He was denying it vehemently. And then, of course, he is later assassinated by Jack Ruby, a man who had terminal cancer and, ties to the government. A lot of strange stuff here. And that's why when someone tells me that they actually believe, and I know intelligent people who have, said this, that, no, I actually believe there's no conspiracy. Oswald acted along. Like, come on, you haven't looked at this at all. Really, you haven't looked at this at all.
It was a very, opportunistic time, too, for something like this to be pulled off and blamed on somebody else.
Right.
Considering the state of the world then. I mean, you're right in the middle of the Cold War. This happened before or after the Bay of Pigs?
After. Yeah, I mean, because, Kennedy's president during Bay of Pigs.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
Bay of Pigs
dumb question.
No,
dumb
not
question.
dumb question. Bay of Pigs happens first, then Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah, I don't even know why I asked that.
No, it's all right. No, we're throwing a lot of info out. But, Bay of Pigs is kind of like Kennedy's failure. And then Cuban Missile Crisis is Kennedy's success, where actually a lot of members within the government during the Cuban Missile Crisis, again, this is something that's completely verified,
but
want to go to war. They need only one more signature to be able to fully attack Cuba. The only signature they do not get is John F. Kennedy's. He holds out and does not go to war with Cuba. They have plans. These are verified, written down plans that they're willing to, these are just ideas being kicked around here. No, and I guess they have the right to do that, but that they're going to blow up a ship or a cargo vessel in Guantanamo Bay, right there. So they have an excuse to attack Cuba. So there are plans for a false flag attack against our own ships, our own people.
Wait, I thought those didn't happen.
But this is verified stuff. And JFK says, no, absolutely not. That's nuts. We're not doing that. If we're going to war with Cuba, we're going to go to war with Cuba because they deserve to be gone to war with. And at the end of the day, he says no. He signs off. He says no. JFK's not president for that long. A lot of stuff happens. A lot of things happen, but when historians rank presidents, the question with JFK is usually not great, bad, good, okay. It's usually, was he president long enough to rank him? That is because typically, history's my background, and when you're looking at the presidents, you don't rank the current guy. You don't usually rank the guy right before, because time's still turning for that. You can't really do it. There's too much going on. There's too much bias, even just in your own mind about how that happened. You got to let time tell. And also, the two presidents that you never rank are Garfield and William Henry Harrison, because they just simply weren't president long enough. But JFK is the one, are we sure JFK was president long enough to rank him? And then when you look at him, it's kind of like, well, I guess he's just okay, because the Bay of Pigs sucked and Cuban Missile Crisis was great. And then he got shot. So it just kind of is a canceled out thing. But people loved him, though. People loved him. And that's the thing with when you have this assassination, too, is, and please, everyone out there know that I'm not, of course, would never be calling for anything like this or condoning anything like this, but Donald Trump hasn't been assassinated. Barack Obama wasn't assassinated. George W. Bush wasn't assassinated. These were not the most popular dudes, okay? There's a lot of people in this country who didn't like these guys.
Well, it's because it's not general population that gets you assassinated.
Right. And when you look at who has been assassinated,
we're gonna have somebody knocking on the door here.
Well, let's face it, though, people. They catch the lone gunman, okay? They do. When presidents are attacked, when presidents are attempted to be assassinated, the Secret Service is very good at their job. Yeah. They tried to kill Ronald Reagan.
Well, they've learned since 1963.
Yeah, I guess so. But they're good at this stuff.
Yeah. And we know the government tracks us, so, people who are conspiring to do this, they have an inkling that you're up to it.
Right. It is a federal offense to say, I want to kill the president. If you utter those words, it is a federal offense in the CIA or the FBI or the Secret Service. Even the local police can
So you just committed federal crime, isn't it?
No, I didn't, because I just said the words. I didn't say that. I had no intent by saying it.
Look at in the media. What was that? They haven't exactly done that, but there's been a few people who've done that with Trump since he's been elected. Was that Kathy Griffin or whatever?
Yeah,
Griffith?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She held up the.
She didn't say she, but yeah, she did something like that. And she got investigated afterwards.
Yeah, she had a YouTube video where she was faux decapitating President Trump, and it happened with Obama too. People said stupid things and they were arrested. They were brought in. Listen, I'm pretty libertarian. I'm probably about as libertarian as they come, but if you're going to maintain a government, you kind of have to look into some of this stuff, right? You do have to, if someone is legitimately threatening the world
Yeah.
leader. Which is why the Secret Service also, I mean, this is off track, but it's why the Secret Service also doesn't just protect the president, but during an election, they protect the candidate of the other major party. And people always tend to say, like, oh, that's bullshit. Why does Trump get Secret Service protection now? Why did John Kerry get Secret Service protection? That's crap. That's just playing to the other side. No, it's actually not crap, because in essence, what's going on then is if they don't do that, then you are allowing one person to control the election. You are allowing one individual to go out there and control the election with a bullet.
You're protecting a free. Well, you're protecting a free
right.
election
You're protecting
process.
democracy and a free election process, and everything that we're supposed to support.
And it's not just the general population, but you have foreign entities who are paying very close attention to that.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, I mean there are foreign governments. We're not the only ones with the CIA. We're the only ones that call it the CIA, but we're not the only ones with a
central intelligence agency,
right? A government agency that supposedly works to protect the government. Something else I want to, if you guys want to throw in something else right now, I'm going to kind of change gears unless you guys got something.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Something that I find very intriguing. You can type this in to the Google box and you will get dozens of YouTube videos, some very interesting, some very historically accurate.
The babushka lady?
No, that's actually not where I'm going with this. Lots of articles, lots of things written, lots of YouTube videos about something that people like to call the Kennedy curse. Kennedy curse, right? The Kennedys are cursed, right? I mean, look at what all of the nasty stuff that has happened to them. And although I'm a very spiritual and religious man and believe that there are greater powers out there that could potentially do that, I don't deny the idea of the curse. Growing up here in Michigan, I believe that the Detroit Lions are cursed. But that is not the point here. But the idea that the Kennedys are cursed, to me, is the most ludicrous notion one could say. The Kennedys are not cursed. They are marked. You don't... I'm sorry, I don't believe in coincidence. I just don't. There's no such thing as a coincidence. I come from a big Catholic family with a lot of people in it. I don't know anyone that's died in a plane crash. Do you guys know anybody that's died in a plane crash?
Like personally?
Yeah, personally. Has anyone in your family died in a plane crash?
No.
I mean, it's tragic. It's terrible. It does happen. And there are accidents that happen. How many Kennedys need to be in plane crashes before we realize that maybe it's not a curse?
Well, how many Kennedys were in plane crashes?
Well,
I know John Kennedy, or not John, or his son.
Their older brother was in a plane crash.
Okay.
Died in World War II in a covert action. Okay, we know that Joseph Kennedy Sr., JFK's dad, we know that he made a lot of enemies. Right?
I'm gonna say if karma is a thing, then karma is paying back everything that Joe Kennedy has done.
Well, perhaps. Although he didn't really break any laws, he took advantage of the crash of '29, and he took advantage of Prohibition legally. Took advantage of Prohibition.
I'm not even talking about any of that. Go ahead.
No, he probably wasn't a real nice guy.
Do you have anything in Rose Kennedy in there?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's that's all it comes down to for me.
Do you mean Rose, his wife, or Rosemary, his daughter?
His daughter.
Yeah, who was lobotomized at age 23.
Yes.
Yeah. No, she was. She had some mental issues, to say the least, and was lobotomized at age 23 and was never the same. She, ironically, despite all of her terrible medical problems and terrible mental health issues, would go on to be the first of Joe Kennedy's children to die of natural causes. I
think with her, it wasn't. This is my own opinion.
She needed to be shut up.
Yeah, I think she was an outspoken, rambunctious 20-something
and they
that
lobotomized her.
that was a liability to the family and their political pursuits. So yeah, you're right.
I agree. And her
lobotomed-
sister,
yeah.
Eunice Kennedy Shriver, because of that, was very upset about this, and she actually did go on to found the Special Olympics in 1968. Because of that. That's, of course, she becomes, Eunice Shriver, which then we know that name because her daughter,
Maria Shriver,
married Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Terminator. Yeah.
Which is how Arnold becomes into the Kennedy family tree, and they are divorced though now, correct? After he was nailing the
housekeeper,
his totally unattractive housekeeper, which I just. Come on, you're Arnold Schwarzenegger. You're married to a Kennedy, and okay, fine, you're gonna have an affair, but that's the chick you chose. I listen. Hey,
do you think he used that line as like, hey, I'm just following tradition here?
I think he did. Rumor has it that he used that line for years and years. That's not the first time he cheated. That he was like, hey,
I'm a Kennedy now.
This is like the kind of the way. This is how these kind of families roll, right?
That was just what was available that day.
But,
and he happened to get her pregnant.
But when that happened, and he got her pregnant, and he embarrassed the family. It was like, okay, but now you embarrassed the family, so we're out. I mean, there was years of talk about Maria Shriver used to.
The pump is better than coming. He didn't cheat.
That is a quote, a direct Arnold Schwarzenegger quote. But, Maria Shriver was famous or notorious, perhaps is the word, I'm not sure, for at like state dinners and famous functions to make sure that women weren't seated next to Arnold, because she knew that he would just make sure that people were seated around him, watchful eyes were seated around him, that pretty women weren't seated around him, because he knew that that he would nail anything that moved, basically. So nothing new there. But no, you're right. Joe Kennedy was very driven, and he made a lot of enemies. He made a lot of friends in the mob, and he didn't hold true to his words. He made a lot of friends in the government and didn't stay true to his words. And, maybe it's not even true to say, maybe it's not right to say that he didn't stand true to it, but he did all of this to further his sons' political careers, and quite frankly, his sons didn't hold true with these ideas. JFK comes in, and he's not a big government guy. He's not a big government guy at all. He gives speeches warning people about secret societies and the dangers of people within the government who have desires for power. He warns of the industrial military complex, like his predecessor did, Eisenhower. Dwight Eisenhower warned us leaving the office about the industrial military complex. He made sure to do it on the way out. He made sure to do it when his term was over. JFK was ballsy enough to do it right at the beginning. Right at the beginning of his term. Then who does he appoint as his attorney general? He appoints his little brother. Who's supposed to, okay, hey, he's a Kennedy guy. He's one of ours, right? What's the first thing Bobby Kennedy does? He goes after the mob. The guys that helped make his dad. Bobby Kennedy says, no, we need to control the mob in this country. They're running wild. As attorney general. So they're not really paying back the favors that got their family into power. They're doing the opposite, honestly. But JFK gets assassinated in 1963. Bobby's instantly the front runner for the guy that's going to run for president. 1964, another plane crash. Teddy survives a plane crash. Everybody always wants to talk about Chappaquiddick with the youngest brother, Teddy. He survives a plane crash in 1964. He barely survives it, and then all of a sudden he kind of changes his tune about some of his political views. He all of a sudden then becomes the mouthpiece. Maybe this has nothing to do with it, but after the plane crash and he survives, he then becomes the mouthpiece for universal health care.
You think maybe after Kennedy's assassination, they kind of thought, well, shit, that left some video evidence. Let's just use airplanes from now on.
Perhaps. In 1968, RFK is assassinated as he is winning primaries to become the next president. Keep in mind, LBJ is eligible to run again in 1968. He would have been actually the longest constitutionally able person to be able to serve. He could have actually served about 10 years, which is allowed under the Constitution. But he steps down. He says he's tired. He probably was tired. He wanted to get out. He wanted to retire. But one of the main reasons he steps down is he knows that he's going to get primaried by RFK. And he's not going to win. RFK is going to win this thing. But no, he's assassinated. In 1969, now there's only one Kennedy son left. Chappaquiddick happens. And Ted once again proves that he doesn't die very easily. But that doesn't do much for his character either. And although Teddy serves till the end of his days as a senator, they make sure that, well, fate, something made sure that he would never become president of the United States. And perhaps I'm drawing conclusions here. Perhaps I'm tying too many things together. But what happens when the Kennedys become president? Well, when the Kennedys become president, they don't really do everything the way the powers that be want them to do it, do they? Might seem like they do, but once they're president, they say, "No, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this my way." So they don't want another Kennedy as president of the United States. Who's they? I don't know. But they're out there. They're out there. The people that obviously didn't want Kennedys to be presidents of the United States. JFK Jr. rolls around. He starts his new magazine, George. Basically, in the first couple of issues of that magazine, comes out and says, "Yeah, my father was not killed by Oswald. There was a lot of people out there that wanted him dead." He announces he's running for Senate. He's gonna win. Well, strangely enough, throw another thing into it. That's right around that's the exact same year that Hillary Clinton wanted to run for that same Senate seat. Okay. Hey, Adam, I'm going to be talking about H.W. Bush here in a little bit.
Hey, no, go ahead.
Listen, Hillary Clinton is not clean. Neither are a lot of other people. We're talking conspiracy here. But regardless, even if you don't want to include the Hillary thing, it was her that did eventually get that Senate seat in New York. But it's JFK Jr. was going for that seat. He was gonna win. He's gonna win. I mean, there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But he dies again in a plane crash. They say it's pilot error. Okay, maybe it was. Maybe it was. But this man was gonna run for. He was gonna run for Senator of New York. Why did Hillary Clinton want? And this isn't anything nasty or conspiracy. Why did Hillary Clinton choose New York when she had never lived in New York in her life? Because Senator of New York is amazing presidential timber. Very powerful, business center, and the third largest state population-wise in the country. So, you look for presidential timber when you're running your candidate. Hillary Clinton could have been Senator of Arkansas, where she was born and raised. She didn't want to run for president as Senator of Arkansas, though. She wanted to run for president as Senator of New York. I don't blame her. She had her sights set. That's fine. Is what it is. That's why, Barack Obama chose Illinois instead of Hawaii. Hawaii's the 44th biggest state or something, population-wise. Illinois is number 6. And it's right in the heart of everything. So that's a better spot to run from. much better spot to run from. At that time, the Republicans tried to throw Alan Keyes in there as a carpetbagger and have him take out Obama. Failed miserably. But I guess my larger point is, you can call it a Kennedy curse if you want. I don't think there's any curse here. I don't believe in this coincidence. I do not. You can say they're cursed. I'd say they're marked. They're marked. You know, it wasn't an accident that JFK was killed. It wasn't an accident that his little brother was killed. It's not bad luck. You know, you have, how many people in your family are going to die of drug overdoses, plane crashes, and assassinations, and car crashes? It just...
Car crashes, maybe.
Maybe
some.
Maybe some. You know, I mean, when they talk about this Kennedy curse, they a lot of time include what happened to Rosemary. They a lot of times, include what happened to JFK and Jackie. They had like a couple of miscarriages, and then they had a kid die who was like 2 years old. You know, I mean that probably wasn't. That probably was just bad luck. I'm not trying to say that every single bad thing that happened to them was brought into this, but the really nasty stuff, I don't think it's a coincidence. I just don't. Let's talk with RFK assassination for a little while here. We've mentioned MK Ultra, right, in past shows here on Deep Issues, and if you're going to believe in that at all, the Sirhan assassination of RFK seems to really fit that bill of someone who had been brainwashed by somebody. Who knows who? I don't know. I'm not pretending to know who. But have you guys ever seen any of the tapes of Sirhan's interview? His interviews afterwards, when he's in jail and they're interrogating him? They're very creepy. And he's disheveled. And he doesn't know what he's talking about. And they're telling him things he did. And he's at first denying them. He's saying, I wouldn't kill Bobby Kennedy. I love Bobby Kennedy. I went to his speech because I wanted to hear him talk. I'm a big fan of Bobby Kennedy. And they're saying, well, then why'd you bring a gun? I didn't. Saying, yes, you did. You brought a gun. You shot him. You bought a gun at this gun store. We have you on record. You bought this revolver, or whatever it was, at this gun store last week. And he's saying, I don't own a gun. He's saying, yes, you did. Here's the paperwork. You own it. And he kind of like looks at the camera and is glassy-eyed. And he's just like, I do own a gun. I did. I do. I bought a gun. Yeah, I did. I bought a gun. Like, it's coming to him. Like, yeah, that's right. I did buy a gun. Why did I buy a gun? Why did I bring it with me? Yeah, I did. Yeah, no, I did. I bought a revolver. Yeah. And it's very strange. It's very strange. Maybe write it off as the guy's just an idiot. He's a dope. But he's stupid. But I don't. I see it, and I think someone got to this guy.
Was there any motive from him to assassinate? I mean, because obviously it seemed like I was saying earlier, it seemed pretty convenient when it came to Oswald.
Mm.
To pin it on him because he was, he had ties with the Soviet Union. Obviously, everything that was going on with the Soviet Union and Cuba during that time. Okay, you can get a motive out of that. Was there a motive for this?
He's Palestinian national.
Okay.
Sirhan was. I think, right? Yes, yeah. But he claimed that he was a Bobby Kennedy fan. That he liked him. Wanted to vote for him. Was there at his rally to support him. And then he doesn't remember actually shooting him. He always holds firm with the idea that he does not remember shooting him. He believes them that he did. I mean, he's seen the evidence, but he says he doesn't remember it. He doesn't know why he did it. And he's in jail for life. I mean, there's no reason for him to not say it. You know, I mean...
Still alive, too.
Yeah, he is. Yes. He was a young man. He was a very young man at 68 when he did this. Probably, yeah, I mean, he's probably, 70 or something?
74, right?
74? Okay, yeah. No, he's a young dude. His lawyer has actually tried to get him released for decades now, based on the idea that he was brainwashed and he doesn't know why he did it.
What about this? As an adult, Surin changed church denominations several times, joining Baptist, Seventh-day Adventist, and then in 1966, he joined the occult organization, the Ancient Mystical Order of the Rose Cross,
Ooh.
commonly known as the
Rosicrucians, sworn enemies of the Illuminati.
Yes. This is according. I'm looking at his Wikipedia page right now, but that's what it says there at the bottom. It says that he, in 1966, he joined the Ancient Mystical Order of the Rose Cross, and 2 years later, he shot and killed Robert F. Kennedy.
Yeah, I feel that this is, again, not a coincidence. You know, these guys are warning about secret societies, and then somebody joins a secret society and kills. I mean, and the Rosicrucians are certainly a secret society. Definitely. Yeah.
So would this, if they're the sworn enemy of the Illuminati, supposedly,
yeah.
Would you make any connections then to Kennedy, the Kennedy family being a part of the Illuminati?
Perhaps. You know, I mean, do you know what another really weird connection I have to this? And this goes with the Rosy Cross, the Order of the Rosy Cross, the Rosicrucians. This is something you never hear. This is literally something that I just kind of thought of the other day. This is not something you hear in all the Kennedy conspiracies. But it was a big deal to voters at the time. How many Catholic presidents have there been?
One.
And they killed him. You know, I mean, this was a big deal. And there hasn't been one since. And I just wonder, I mean, if you were to...
Who was the last one to run? Was it Santorum?
Joe Biden was Catholic.
Oh, yeah, Joe Biden.
He never... Well, he did run for president and lose in the primaries. So there have been running mates.
Okay.
Who have been... Hillary's running mate. Why in the hell can't I think of that name? Tim Kaine was Catholic as well.
Is Catholic,
yeah, still, yeah. Joe Biden and him are Catholic, not were Catholic. So there have been running mates. There have been other guys who have run. Is Rick Santorum Catholic?
Yeah, he is.
Is
Catholic.
he? Okay.
Yep.
There definitely have been, Catholics running since then. I can't think of one that has made it out of the primaries as a, top member of the ticket since then. But the Kennedys aren't just Catholic, though. They're very Catholic. They're very proud of it. And who doesn't like the Catholics? Well, secret societies don't. Secret societies really dislike the Catholics. The Freemasons really, really dislike the Catholics. And that, you got the Freemasons out there. They technically are part of the Illuminati if you believe in that. And not only now do you have a Catholic in the White House, you got a Catholic warning the world about secret societies. I mean, I don't... Again, why is this not a coincidence that's at least just brought up? I'm not giving you rock solid proof here of anything, but I think it's worth noting. You know, I mean, we don't believe Oswald did it by himself, right? We don't know why they did it. We don't know who exactly did it. I mean, we all tend to think that William Greer had a huge part in it, but who was he working for? I don't think that was...
I don't think William Greer had this thing against the president. Like,
yeah, I think he was working for somebody. Yeah, I mean, that's...
He was following orders.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But it's a big thing. I mean, the Catholics are not allowed to be Freemasons, as a rule. What's funny about that, actually, is for centuries, the Freemasons had a rule against no Catholics. You couldn't be in the Freemasons if you were Catholic. You couldn't actually even be a Freemason if you married a Catholic. My dad was actually kept from being in the Freemasons for this reason. My grandfather was a Freemason, and he never really asked or brought his two sons, my dad and my uncle, into the fold. And he never said this directly, but they married Catholics. So that was kind of a no-no. The Freemasons, since then, have technically and officially gotten rid of that ban. The Freemasons will allow Catholics to join their organization, but that's not really true either, though, because Catholics haven't lifted the ban. So, as far as Catholicism is concerned, the Catholic Church says you're not allowed to be a Freemason. So, technically, if you become a Freemason, you're not a Catholic anymore. Is basically the idea behind this.
What's the hang up with Catholics? Does it go back to just the Reformation or anything like that, or
I think it has something to do with the idea that they view it as, and I don't mean to put words in anybody's mouth, but they view it as a Catholic. When you are part of one of these societies,
because obviously,
because
obviously, like the KKK has a problem with Catholics as well.
They do. Yep. No, big problem with them. The idea with a lot of these societies is that you have to pledge 100% full allegiance to that society, and if you are a Catholic, then your allegiance belongs to Jesus and the Pope and the Church. So it's a conflict of interest.
But if you're, I mean, you could, if you're a Catholic and you're a Protestant, I mean, isn't your affiliation to Jesus first and foremost?
If you're Catholic or Protestant?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, which one, Catholic or Protestant? If you're a Protestant, you're saying?
Well, both.
Well, they're different. I mean, a Protestant, by definition, is not Catholic.
Well, I know that, but they're both still Christian, though.
They're Christian, but they're not Catholic. Their problem isn't with Christians. There's a lot of Christians in them. I mean, same with even the KKK.
Well, you could make an argument that the KKK is a Christian organization.
You could. There are people in there claiming to be Christians. Not acting very Christ-like in my view. But,
absolutely not.
Yeah, but there are people who are Christians. But you have to pledge your allegiance to these groups, and they view it as a Catholic can't pledge allegiance to anything because your allegiance is pledged to the Pope, who is the voice of Jesus.
Okay, so it's the Pope is the biggest difference then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because... Okay, now, I understand that all churches are man-made. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to say that. And, yes, I'm Catholic, so you can say that I'm biased or something. But Catholics would... Okay, who founded the Lutheran Church? Martin Luther, right? Mm-hmm. Who founded the Episcopalian or the Anglican Church? King Henry VIII, who founded the Presbyterian Church. Well, it's that goes. There's a couple of offshoots, but probably John Calvin or something. You would say, initially formed, those different sects of Protestantism that go from that. Who's listed as the founder of the Catholic Church? Jesus. Just Jesus. So they would argue that that religion wasn't founded by a man. That religion was founded by God. And not just their God, not just the Catholics' God, because you could say, well, Buddhist was founded, because it was founded by Buddha, or Islam was founded by Muhammad. But the Catholics lay claim to our religion was founded by Jesus, and that is still the same God that is worshipped by the Baptists and the Presbyterians and the non-denominationals and the rest. So that's where I guess the difference lies, if you will. Now they would tell you, someone that disliked the Catholics would tell you, oh, they lay claim to being founded by Jesus, but they've been corrupted since. They've since been corrupted, and our version of the faith is truer to the Bible or truer to something. A Baptist would want to lay claim to the Bible and to a literal interpretation of it. A Presbyterian or maybe an Anglican or an Episcopalian would be a better example, would say that, yeah, I know we was founded by Henry VIII, who wasn't that great of a guy, but since then we've taken our faith in a different direction and it's better. I guess that would be the difference. I mean, many said when JFK, people weren't as politically correct back then. When JFK was running for president, they said, oh, we can't have a Catholic as president because, the president's supposed to honor the country and the Constitution, and Catholics honor the Pope. So what's going to happen when something happens with Rome? Is he going to side with the Pope instead of side with the American people? People said this stuff regularly back then. I mean, JFK kind of wrote that off as, no, I'm not. And they voted for him, and
he won.
The people of America obviously didn't care too much. It was a close election, but people, they obviously didn't. They wanted JFK to be president. But I do think that is a valid point that doesn't ever get brought up. Why do they want JFK dead? Well, he wasn't their type of guy. He simply isn't. And the speeches he gave were proof positive of that. In his short time as president, he told us that we were going to come clean about whether or not the U.S. had made contact with aliens. We're going to expose... Excuse me for coughing so much. We are going to expose secret societies. We're going to expose the industrial military complex. We are going to expose power brokers within the government who want this, who aren't working for the best interest of the American people. And unlike Eisenhower, who also gave warning of the industrial military complex, there's really no proof that Dwight D. Eisenhower, while president, did any actions to go against the industrial military complex. He actually was a big part of it. I mean, he was a 5-star general. Only a few people in U.S. history have ever achieved that rank. He was there. He then served as president for 8 years. It wasn't until the very end that he said, hey, guys, watch out for the industrial military complex. But JFK, he said it at the beginning of his term. And he acted on it. When the industrial military complex wanted to go into Cuba, he said no. when they wanted to go into Vietnam, he did send troops to Vietnam, by the way. But when they wanted to go into Vietnam, he said no. The, what's the word I'm looking for here? The Gulf of Tonkin, right? Yes. When they, later went into, came up with their reasons, excuses, one might say, to go into Vietnam. After the fact, JFK wouldn't have anything to do with that. He sent troops there, but wouldn't go in. When LBJ becomes president, almost instantly, the troop numbers go up exponentially. We are now in Vietnam. We are 100% in Vietnam now. This was not JFK's plan. He wasn't going to do that. But LBJ does it. Does he do it because he wanted to? Or does he do it because he knows what they do to the guys that don't? I don't know. There's a lot of conspiracy revolving around LBJ too. Whether or not he potentially had something to do with it, I don't know. I'm actually not prepared to, go in or out on that particular conspiracy. If somebody else has something to add on the LBJ aspect, please do. I know one of LBJ's mistresses, in a famous interview, commented about his part in the Kennedy assassination. Does somebody's mistress 30 years after, is that a
reliable source?
Yeah, a reliable source. I don't know. It doesn't mean that she isn't necessarily, it's, I guess, like, we're all believing Stormy Daniels right now. Is she a reliable source? Signs point to no in reliable source, but that doesn't mean she's lying.
Well,
I don't think she is. I don't think she is.
I think it's two completely different set of circumstances, though. One, we're talking about assassination of a president.
Oh, for sure.
Second one, we're talking about president.
I'm just saying that if you were ever to think of somebody who wouldn't necessarily be a great source, it would maybe be Stormy Daniels. And with that being said, I believe everything she says. I completely believe her. I think she's telling the truth.
When it comes to LBJ, though, and his potential involvement, I don't know. I guess for me, and I'm like you, Josh. I really don't have any concrete evidence or anything like that, one way or the other. I'm just thinking to myself, when it comes to the entirety of this, it just seems like these decisions were made outside of the executive branch of government.
I agree with you.
And it just seems like that when it comes to LBJ, maybe he did know about it. I think that's something that maybe I can believe. Maybe he knew. Maybe he had some type of inkling that something was in the works to get Kennedy out of office, whether it was, manipulating some type of situation against him or killing him.
And we know that he had a lot of control in Texas, where JFK was inevitably killed. Does that mean that because he came from Texas and he was killed in Texas that LBJ did it? Well, no, it doesn't.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't think. Indirectly, maybe. Directly, absolutely not.
Another guy who gets labeled a lot. Hey, we threw some shade at Hillary Clinton a little while ago. Another guy that gets involved in this a lot is George H.W. Bush.
Yep, has to be him.
Now I've heard
if you're gonna do the Hillary Clinton thing, I'll be on board with the.
Well, listen, I actually kind of like George Bush Sr. I kind of liked him as a president.
Nobody likes George Bush Sr.
No, that's not true. But with this being said, now there's plenty of conspiracies out there.
But he didn't need a second term because he accomplished everything first.
What Now there's a lot of conspiracies out there about the Bush family and George H.W. Bush. I mean, there's stuff right down to he's
Skull and Bones.
He's the one that pulled the trigger. I don't really believe that, but
Geronimo's skull.
George H.W. Bush is in 1963 is a high-level CIA operative. There have been times, it seems to me anyway, that they've tried to downplay how high of a CIA operative he was. And it's like, well, yeah, he was in the CIA, but it's, I mean, come on, he wasn't head of the CIA for, I think he becomes head of the CIA in around 70 or so. It's like, oh, it's not like he was, in charge of it all in 1963. He wasn't that high up. But we do know the CIA, of course, is very secretive. Clandestine would be the word they like to use. But we do know that George H.W. Bush, as a CIA agent, briefed Eisenhower on several things. So before JFK is president, Bush Sr. is a high enough level operative in the CIA to be briefing the President of the United States. So, pretty high, right? I mean, not every CIA agent gets to, sit down with the President and have a conversation. But he is in 1959 or before. And now we're talking 1963. He didn't go down in those years. So in 1963, George H.W. Bush is a high-level CIA operative. He then goes on to become the head of the CIA. He then runs for president in 1980 and then becomes president in 1988. 89, technically, takes office. The idea I'm presenting here, I'm actually not saying that George Bush had any wrongdoing, that he did anything nefarious. There isn't really any proof of that. And it's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is that dude knows something. You were a high-level operative the year it happened. You were head of the CIA later, and you became president of the United States.
If anybody's still
that
alive...
That guy knows who killed JFK and why.
Yeah, if anybody's still alive know the ins and outs of the Kennedy assassination, it's George H.W. Bush.
Freemason as well.
Yes, Freemason as well. And we know that while he was president, he was one of the people that got to decide when the rest of the JFK stuff was going to be released. 8 years after George Bush Sr. left office, his son became president of the United States. These people know something. They know something. They have to know something. Do they not tell us because they are just, in their mind, they are just true Americans and it's for the best? Do they not tell us because it implicates them in something nefarious? Do they not tell us because even when you're president, you're not really running the show? And there's always a chance that somebody will get you? I mean, JFK would be proof of that, right? There's always a chance that somebody will take you out. Like, hey, President Bush, we know that you know, but you know what happens to people that say too much. So, and we also see, because of the quote-unquote, air quotes here, for those of you not watching on Facebook Live, the Kennedy curse, we also know that when bad stuff happens to you, it doesn't always just happen to you. Because it's easy to be idealistic, isn't it? When you're the only one out there. I mean, we're all dads in this room. It's easy to be idealistic and say, I don't care what they do to me. This is about the truth. This is about doing the right thing. I'm going to do it. But are you willing to do that when it's your kid's life on the line?
No,
No.
if I know it's going to hurt my family, then
Right. Who would? Nobody would. Nobody would do that.
only
Doesn't
with
matter if
somebody. Only with
Even if
somebody.
you're a jerk, you probably wouldn't. You know.
Well, only with something to lose, or with nothing to lose. Excuse me, but all of these guys,
They all have something to lose.
they all have
so
something
don't
to
they?
lose.
Yeah. And it goes to show that did maybe JFK Jr. just was a lousy pilot. Maybe he was. God rest his soul. Maybe he just wasn't good enough and shouldn't have taken the plane off that day. That's a story, right? Is that he was.
I think he was flying through fog, or
yeah, he wasn't good enough of a pilot to navigate those that type of weather.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't what's the word, equipment, what's the word they use, that you can fly a plane, if you can have your pilot, but you can't be there's the license or the ability to fly a plane, and then there's the ability to fly it through just the equipment and the instruments. Instrument rated, I believe, is what they call it. Like the guy who flies the plane, the 747 for Delta, in theory, he can fly that plane blind.
I think that's basically
or at least he can not with his eyes being blind, but he can fly it without seeing the windshield. Strictly from the instruments.
Mm-hmm.
Strictly from the instruments on the plane, he can fly it. And before you get to that point, you can still be a pilot, but you're just flying the old-fashioned way, basically. You're not instrument rated. You're looking out the window and flying. And they say that that's a thing that when your plane gets thrown off course, then you don't realize when up is down and down is up. And that the error would be that you would literally think you are pulling yourself up, but you're actually driving the plane directly down, into the water, is what they claim JFK Jr. did. Maybe that's the truth. Maybe it is. Maybe he knew something and they were afraid of another Kennedy in the White House. Or maybe excuse me, sorry for the coughing fits. But maybe it's just a backlash. Maybe it's just simply a reminder. Like, when you screw us, we don't just kill you. We kill your family too. Well, maybe it's a reminder all those years later. Maybe that's why they're going after Teddy. Or maybe Teddy's just a lousy driver and drinks too much. And, has really bad luck in plane crashes, but then has really good luck and survives. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But it seems like, if you want to write that off as a Kennedy curse, okay, you can. You're not the only one. You have a legion of people with you, of Kennedy lovers and Kennedy haters and YouTubers and interneters out there who will join you in this idea that there is a Kennedy curse. This poor family is cursed. I don't go for it. Like I said, I don't believe in coincidence, and that many bad things don't happen to a family unless there's some purposeful methodology being directed in your way. That's the way I see it, anyway. That's the way I look at it. George H.W. Bush, what he knows, what he doesn't know. I just know he's got to know something. I mean, am I crazy to say dude's got to know something?
No, I think if anybody out there is...
Well, he became head of the CIA, and you know everything when you get to that point. So even if somehow he didn't know at the time, he eventually knew.
I mean, you don't get there without being a very intelligent person and a very inquisitive person. Come on, you're the head of the CIA. You're gonna go open some file cabinets, aren't you? I mean, aren't you gonna look at some stuff? I am.
Yep.
I mean,
go down in the basement one day after work.
Yeah, I mean, aren't you gonna say, "No, I need to know some of this stuff"? I mean, if anyone out there knows whether or not we're talking to aliens or we killed JFK, or that the Illuminati's really running the show.
It's gonna be Herbert Walker.
It really is. It really is. And you gotta kind of think that if Homeboy's son became president of the United States as well, that he knows a little something too.
Do you think he chose Dan Quill so he didn't have to watch his back too?
I don't know. I don't know. What I do think about...
It's like, I know Dan Quill's not going to kill me for this job.
Yeah. What I do think about H.W. Bush, and again, I'm not a hater. I'm not a hater. I voted for George Bush Jr. I voted for W twice. I mean, I fully admit that. Not my favorite dude out there, but I voted for him twice. And with the last two presidents we had, I'd take him right now. I'd take him back. I really would. Does that mean I don't think he knows stuff or that I trust him completely? No, not really. But what I do think about H.W. Bush is that I think it was part of their plan that he was going to be the head of the CIA and that the powers that be, whether it's the Illuminati or the Rosicrucians or just a couple of not that nice dudes inside government or the gray aliens, I think the plan was for him to become president in 1980. Jimmy Carter was weak. He was going to lose that election. Extremely beatable. Probably the most beatable incumbent president in U.S. history, arguably. George W. Bush was the establishment candidate. He was the one at the Bohemian Grove. He was the Skull and Bones dude. He was the head of the CIA. He was the guy. He was supposed to be president in 1980. But Ronald Reagan was a goofy blip in history. People loved him, and you can love Reagan, you can hate Reagan, but he was a charismatic dude. The people fell in love with him, and he kicked ass in 2 elections. And I think that's why he ended up being VP under that. Was they said, crap, this dude just came out of nowhere. This actor, radio host, governor of California, he's just unbeatable. He is. We got ourselves a conservative Republican who's going to take California in a landslide. And the people love him, and
Bush is young enough where he can take it afterwards.
Right. And basically, they're saying, listen, yeah, exactly. Not only, Bush is, we can wait, and we'll just see how we're going to have to settle for VP on this one. We can't beat him, and we'll make ourselves look worse by trying to run this guy through the mud. It just can't be done.
Throw in an assassination attempt to make sure he plays ball.
Right. There was an absolute assassination attempt on Reagan. He should have died. He should have died in that attempt. I mean, there's actually a good book written that compares. It's a lot about medicine and the way doctors work, but there's a very good book I read years ago comparing the assassination of James Garfield and the assassination attempt on Ronald Reagan, about how, this I don't think is anything with a conspiracy, but the medical procedures for Garfield were so botched that there's no way he should have died from that gunshot wound. And with Reagan, there's almost like no way he should have lived.
Isn't there a conspiracy surrounding that in Bush's connection to Reagan getting shot?
Yeah,
in a possible involvement with that as well.
Yes, definitely. I mean, there's and like Ed said, a lot of people just think, even though he lived, it was, well, he lived, but now we're gonna make sure that he does what we want him to do. even if he messes with it a little bit, he can still act like Ronald Reagan, but.
And he was an actor.
So, he was. I mean, he was.
The profession is basically professional liars.
Ronald Reagan very famously said when asked about that, when they asked him, do you think it's difficult to make the transition from actor to politician? And he said, me personally, I don't know how one could possibly do this job without being trained as an actor. I mean, that was basically, I slightly paraphrased, but not much. That's pretty much what he said when confronted with this. But a lot of people make claims that, and people said this about George W. Bush later too, but people make a lot of claims that Ronald Reagan wasn't necessarily running the show. He was a great president, he was charismatic, and people loved him, but he was kind of an aloof character. He was kind of, I mean, the reports are that they were scared half to death when he had his meeting with Gorbachev. They were scared to death. They were like, well, Ronald Reagan doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know any of this stuff about our military. He doesn't know the logistics or the statistical things or the technology. He doesn't know any of this stuff. He's going to go in there with Gorbachev, this trained guy, and he's going to get wasted. And they went into a meeting together, just the two of them. They walked out. Gorbachev was wearing Reagan's hat. And the reports are that they asked Ronald Reagan, how'd it go? And he said, oh, it went great. He goes, you guys aren't going to believe this, but he doesn't know any of that stuff either. I mean, I think he was kind of a difficult person to control. JFK was a difficult person to control too, but at least with Reagan, well, if you're believing some of this stuff, well, at least they had their guy in the they had their guy in the VP slot. And 8 years isn't that long to do what needs to be done.
No, it's not. It just seems weird that if they do have their guy, in the VP slot, why not? Excuse the pun. Why not pull the trigger and have something happen so you can get that guy in? And maybe they did. Maybe they tried it. Maybe it was. And maybe the assassination attempt on Reagan was that opportunity, and it didn't work out. It was just one of those instances where, okay, we tried it. Can we really try it again without there being a huge microscope on the entirety of the situation?
And if you think about it from them, and I know that we're it's who is them. Well, we don't really know, but.
God, this episode right now it has NSA.
Oh, it does. It does for sure. And you know what? NSA, bring it. You might be at my apartment right now looking through all my stuff. That's fine. Thing is with Reagan too.
Why does this guy have so many VHS tapes still?
that is exactly what the NSA is saying right now. It's like, this guy's VHS collection it's sick. I mean, this is just. This dude's VHS collection is legit. I don't know why. Put some of these in. Make sure they're not like secret tapes. Like, no, this really is the Masters of the Universe movie from the 80s. Wow, he thought a lot of G.I. Joe cartoons. Okay, well, people are that's all true. That's all true. What I just said about my VHS collection.
And the CIA or the NSA will soon know about it as well.
Yeah, they might already. When Reagan's elected, he's the oldest man ever elected president. He's a 70-year-old man in 1980. Maybe they didn't think he'd make it 8 years.
Yeah.
There was an assassination attempt. There was also all his problems with Iran-Contra that, maybe they thought could get him impeached. But instead they came up with the term the Teflon president. Truth is, people just liked him. People didn't like him. They said, oh, yeah, Iran-Contra, that's kind of crappy. They did that. You know what? Maybe they just had it coming. We don't know. Or maybe the Secret Service just really did their job. But all that is, I don't know. A lot of weird stuff out there. You guys have any other thoughts on the Kennedy family, on Bobby, on JFK, on some of these ideas? Who knew what? Who knew when? You know,
It's a sad situation either way.
mm-hmm.
I mean, whether it's karma, whether it's curse, whether it's marked, it sucks that you would have this type of family that would have so much tragedy associated with it. And like I said, either which way you want to put it, karma, marked, curse, whatever. It sucks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that there were some Kennedy characters there that were bad people.
Mm-hmm.
I think Joe Kennedy was a bad person. All of them weren't like that. I think there were some good people in there, but again, either which way.
JFK himself, far from imperfect. I mean, by no means, pretty lousy husband.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he was sleeping with everybody. That reminds me of something that I thought of a little while ago too. The idea that a president or an important man or a rich man would have mistresses. Not weird. I mean, come on, not weird. Not weird. I mean, we've seen, today we've seen Donald Trump and Bill Clinton. In the past, it was probably around even more. Maybe not more or less, but you could just hide it easier. And as a lot of things come out with powerful, rich, and or important men, we see that a lot of good men in history who did a lot of very good things weren't very good husbands. Had a lot of mistresses. Had a lot. We know that about Dr. Martin Luther King. And one of the greatest men ever. Obviously, not a great husband. That guy was nailing.
He was a horrible husband, like it's actually like he was like, this is like John Edwards bad.
Mm-hmm.
It was Dr. Seuss.
Really?
Dr. Seuss, yeah, go and read about he cheated on his wife who was stricken with cancer, and
jeez.
Yeah, and go read on Dr. Seuss and the type of husband he was. He was maybe one of the worst.
Yeah. And again and we're not saying that all guys are like this. They really aren't, but it's not uncommon. Not uncommon for somebody who has high ambitions to maybe it's simply a matter of biology and testosterone and how high your ambitions are, that you have to have everything.
You have all that power and all that availability.
Right. And do you feel bulletproof, or you feel for lack of a better term when it comes to JFK. But you do feel like this, and this is definitely out there. But we like to tie in when you're talking Illuminati, you're talking secret societies. The one thing that's a little different about JFK and his mistresses, especially the mistresses that he had once he became president, or once he was really in the public scene, is... Okay, I know I'm kind of bouncing around here. We know that LBJ was just as bad or worse than JFK. But he wasn't with Marilyn Monroe. He wasn't with Jane Mansfield. He wasn't with these people who have all these really strange ties to other organizations. I mean, we know that Hollywood at this point is actually run by socialists and communists. The people that, Oswald claimed to be working for. Yet all these Hollywood people are finding their way into the president's bedchambers. There's something to that. We know that Jane Mansfield another one of famous people that ended up dead later, very tragically in a car accident. We know that she had ties to the occult, and ties to some really strange organizations. So, is it crazy? Maybe it is crazy. I don't know. Is it crazy to think that maybe some of these gorgeous women connected to other people were sent in to a guy who they know didn't really like to keep his thing in his pants? Because I mean, we know that Martin Luther King cheated on his wife, but I can't name any of his mistresses. And we know that LBJ cheated on his wife. His mistresses weren't famous. We know that the other Kennedys were. But why are all these Hollywood chicks infiltrating the Kennedys? We also know that Marilyn Monroe, most of the things that she did in her life, she didn't do by choice. I mean, anyone that's ever read a Marilyn Monroe biography or watched a TV show or a movie about her knows that although she was famous and beautiful and rich, she was kind of a sad figure. And very much controlled by people that said, hey, we're going to make you famous. We're going to make you rich, but you're going to do whatever we tell you to do. And some of it was very unsavory and very sad and tragic.
Well, the thing with John F. Kennedy is, and can't write this off, he was a young, good-looking guy.
True.
I mean, with a lot of power, President of the United States. I think that's going to, reasonably speaking, that's going to
you are right. You are right. John F. Kennedy, pretend he was a plumber at your local pub, but he looked like JFK and he talked like JFK. He could probably pull in some tail. He's a good-looking dude. He was eloquent. He was funny. He was charismatic, and very attractive man. He gave this, had this thing about him where he looked like he was, tough and athletic, and that actually was very untrue. He was actually a very sickly guy. He had a lot of health problems, and he actually, as a young man, he was, in the Navy and stuff, but even by the time he was 40 years old, he was, body very deteriorated, a lot of health problems, but he hit it very well. Hit it extremely well.
Makeup.
Yeah.
That was supposedly one of the reasons that tilted him in favor of beating Nixon, was in one of the debates.
Nixon refused to wear makeup. He said, why would I wear makeup? I'll look like a girl.
The early days of TV where, they didn't realize that everybody on TV should.
Yeah, no, and by the end of it, Nixon was sweaty. He looked old and greasy. Nixon wasn't an old guy either. Nixon was an extremely young man. And he wasn't an old president when he was elected in 1968. He was running in 60. He was a very young guy. A very young guy. A little bit older than Kennedy.
That would happen to most people you see on TV nowadays. You have all those lights and it's hot in there, but we know that you can throw makeup on people and cover that shit up.
Right. You're right. But a lot of these things with Kennedy, I just feel like we've talked about this for so long. And by we, I mean the people of the United States or the people of the world. And I mean we, since before the three of us were born, people have been talking about this. But a lot of this stuff doesn't really get spoken about. And we covered a lot of the basics in the last show. And we didn't have as much overlap as I thought we would from these two shows. But I hope with this show, at least, we laid some stuff out that makes you think. That makes you think, like, yeah, that is weird. No one ever talks about how the one Catholic president ever was this one that was assassinated in such a strange manner. And everyone just hears, like, oh, yeah, the Kennedy curse. It's like, but people don't ever want to pinpoint it to, are they cursed, or is that thing that you believe where JFK was assassinated and we don't know why, does that transcend that one man and go into the rest of the family? I think that makes a lot of sense, and I hope people out there just kind of, maybe you're like me, and you've been interested in the JFK conspiracy and JFK assassination for the last 20 years, 25 years. But maybe this kind of will send you in a different direction, lend you some insight, get something else going.
Yeah, for me, it's. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint one certain reason behind the assassination.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
hell, we've barely mentioned Cuba and the mafia.
Well, I think
today. We did in the last show.
Yeah.
But today we haven't talked about that a whole lot. And let's face it, these are legitimate people that maybe wanted to kill Kennedy too.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the most, like you said, I think that's the most legitimate straight line culprit or culprits in this in this whole thing. And it very well could be them. I don't know. I mean, could it be them? Sure. Could it be Rosicrucians? Yeah. Could it be something completely different? Could it be CIA trying to, stop Kennedy from blowing the lid on UFO conspiracy? Perhaps. I said at the top of the show, and I'll say it again. I don't know what it comes down to with that. For me, everything comes down to the tape.
Yes.
The Zapruder films. And beyond that, you could go ahead and make your own judgment.
No, you're absolutely right, Adam. The Zapruder film is so telling. It's so telling, and if you watch the original one that they actually let everybody see on TV back in 1963, it's telling. If you watch the one that shows a lot more,
you see what they edited out.
Yeah, and this idea that, I'm sorry, those of you out there, I'm not calling people dumb. I'm not saying anything like that. But
there's not that many of them, so just go ahead and say it.
And come on,
they're probably not listening to us either.
If you think that this is crazy conspiracy stuff, and that Oswald acted alone, and you believe in the magic bullet, because again, you do, if you believe in the official story, you believe in the magic bullet idea, that this bullet went in through Kennedy twice, and also took out injured Governor Connolly as well. And that bullet somehow ended up very much intact on Governor Connolly's stretcher as he was being taken to the hospital, because they claim here's the bullet. It was on the actual stretcher. That So you believe that wasn't planted and that actually happened. And the bullet, after doing all that crazy stuff, stopping in midair, mind you, as
and the governor's back was facing the driver too.
Right. So if you believe that, you believe in this magic bullet idea. You believe that the bullet was still very much intact after all that, by the way, which anyone who's ever seen, lead is used in bullets for a lot of different reasons. Lead is a very strong metal, and it's a very devastating metal, but it's also very malleable. And anyone that's ever seen a bullet shot into water, and what even the water does to lead, can know that the bullet doesn't still look like a bullet after it does all that stuff. Not to mention that then, if there's one bullet, what was that bullet that was lodged in the curb outside there? And what were the shots from the grassy knoll? All these other things. And like so many conspiracies, all of it can't be true. There's got to be holes in it somewhere. But at what point do you then take all of it and throw it all away and say, yeah, well, I guess it was just Oswald? If you're thinking, you don't. You don't. That's it. It's just not what you do. Sorry.
Right there it is, right there.
Yeah, I know. And listen, are we gonna be able to have the Zapruder film up on the site again? Okay, we will. So when you come here, if you're watching on Facebook Live now or watching on one of our myriad of other platforms, if you go to theempiremedia.com, you can see this, rewatch it, watch it again, rewatch it again. It's there. You can see it. And like we said, once you see it, you really can't unsee it. The driver, William Greer, shoots JFK. He's not the only guy to shoot him. He's already shot. He's
He's the second guy to get a body shot on him.
Yeah, right. And at when the first shot happens, Jackie is trying to comfort him. She's trying to, I don't know, hold the blood inside him or hug him or something. And it's after that second shot that she tries to escape the vehicle. She tries to escape it, and her personal Secret Service agent, Clint Hill, is the guy who pushes her back in the car after she is trying to get out, or they would say that he was simply trying to do his job and, get her in there. Now, there's several different ideas. If you believe in, William Greer shooting him, then, some people would say that Clint Hill is part of this all, part of the Secret Service job or conspiracy to kill the president, and that he's pushing her back inside. This is what Bill Cooper believes. This is actually what I believe, too. But you can actually even just say that, well, maybe he didn't know. He's her personal detail. It's actually his job to protect, not JFK. I mean, they're all of their job is to protect JFK. But it's Clint Hill's job to protect Jackie. He's actually the head of her personal security detail. So maybe he is really just saying, no, stay in the car. They're going to get you to safety.
And you know what? I believe that too, because you know what? If she's trying to get out of the car at that point when it's speeding away, because that's what she's trying to do. The car's already speeding now. If she gets out of the car at that point, she's going to get hurt.
Right.
So, I mean, I could see the Secret Service agent trying to keep them.
Dudes up front got guns.
Yeah. But something else.
Does Clint Hill know that or not know that? We don't know. Quite frankly, who cares? It doesn't matter. I mean, you know at this point that the driver just turned around and blew JFK's head off. Whether or not, we know William Greer did that, whether or not Clint Hill was in on that from the beginning, or just, zeroed in and focused on Jackie and trying to get her back in the car, that is truly a question we will never know the answer to, and doesn't know. We could ask William Greer later on, but as it turns out, William Greer died in, I believe, 1966.
I think it was the 80s.
No, I think it was a few years after.
Along with every single person who was within view of what would have happened.
Pretty sure.
No, he died in 85.
Oh, he did? Yeah. Okay. All right.
Died of cancer.
Okay.
One thing I think I did notice on here, though, is it looks like Greer looks back once and then looks back again. And then after it was that second look back is when he pointed the gun.
Like he's checking, is he dead yet? Do I need to finish the job?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm rolling the film right now, and right here, Kennedy is shot through the neck. Jackie's checking on him, and there we go. She wasn't looking at the driver at that point.
And there's Babushka Lady, who was never found.
Never found, and she's hit right there.
Yeah.
He's hit right there. One look, two look, and the shot.
Jackie turns and looks at the driver when that happens, too. And then immediately tries to exit the vehicle.
I don't think she knows the driver.
Oh, you don't think so? I think she does.
No, I don't think she does.
Oh, I totally think she does. She's there trying to comfort him, and then she turns.
I think
looks at him. He starts speeding away, and she tries to exit the vehicle.
Yeah, I don't think he knows that it was. I don't think she knows that it was the driver. I think she's just in complete shock right now and wants to get out of the car because she just witnessed her husband have his head blown off. I think that's what it was.
Could be. I mean, and the other thing is, why, as Bill Cooper would tell you, why did Jackie never say anything? Why did she not come clean? Why did she stick with the Secret Service? Well, who is in charge of protecting her children? The Secret Service.
Yep.
And not just then, but for life, actually. Mm-hmm. So I don't think we have a ton more to say about this tonight. Anyone can, you guys can jump in on anything here. But...
I get one thing. We don't have to really get into it too deep because it could kind of be in a future deep issues.
That's right. What you got?
One thing I think was actually probably a pretty big reason for it. I don't think you guys mentioned it the first time around. Executive Order 11,110.
No, tell us about it.
Which is basically allowed the Secretary of Treasury to issue silver certificates, taking away the power from the Federal Reserve.
Yes.
Which was subsequently rescinded and basically stopped right after he was assassinated. No president since has done anything to mess with the Federal Reserve.
I think, Josh, didn't you? You probably didn't mention it on air, but I think didn't you mention something about that before?
I think I did. Yes. No, I think I did, and we may have mentioned it on the last show, but no, that is very true, Ed, and that's another thing that JFK doubled down on too while he was running for president. While he was president, that we would keep a silver standard.
You don't mess with the money supply. Yeah. I mean, the Illuminati are in control.
There was one other president.
No, that's a good.
Lincoln.
Yeah, Abraham Lincoln.
They all get killed
with the Federal Reserve.
No, that's
with the standard, the money standard as well.
That's an excellent point that Ed brings up, though, and it's again a very reasonable. I'm not saying it's a reasonable, it's not reasonable justification to kill somebody, but it's certainly a reasonable motive that you would think of to.
Well, but it isn't necessarily the only thing that caused them to go that way. But if you're kind of rocking the boat, if you're kind of holding steady in the right direction, they're probably going to let you go.
No, but like you said, I mean, messing with the money. I mean, that's
a killable offense.
Absolutely.
No, I mean, for them.
For them, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not condoning it for anybody else.
Josh's like, oh, absolutely.
No, I was agreeing with the two of you. If you mess with my money supply, I don't have any, so it's not that big a deal, really.
Hey, that's what the NSA's figure out, right? Well, they probably knew about that well beforehand.
Probably. No, you are absolutely right, Ed, and that's a link that they put between Kennedy and Lincoln a lot as well. Is these are pretty much the only two presidents that really tried to alter the way money functions, basically.
Well, Andrew Jackson too.
Andrew Jackson did as well, and they attempted to assassinate him.
Flat out, basically called him out too.
Yeah. Well, and things were different then. He actually did it by getting rid of the federal bank before it was known as the Federal Reserve. Yeah. He did basically close it down, and there was an assassination attempt on Andrew Jackson as well. At least one. Andrew Jackson actually. Say what you want about him. He's not one of my favorite presidents for other reasons, but a man tried to assassinate him. This was long before the Secret Service, and Andrew Jackson beat the crap out of him with his cane. the guy came with a gun and tried to assassinate him on the steps of the White House, and Andrew Jackson pulled his cane out and just beat the crap out of the guy. So, I mean, pretty tough dude. That. Yeah, pretty tough dude. Pretty tough dude. I mean, there was no protection, no bodyguards, no Secret Service. They just he just made it happen. That Andrew Jackson also, while president of the United States, because he had been shot in a duel, before he was president. While he was president, he actually coughed out the bullet. It had been in his lung the entire time for like decades. And what's strange is the guy that shot him in this duel was a member of Congress at that point. Neither of them were in government at the time when they had the duel, but that guy was actually a member of Congress who actually became a Jackson supporter when Jackson was running. So this guy was actually the guy that shot Jackson in a duel. He was a member of Congress, a supporter of Jackson, and when he coughed it out, he instructed his people to bring the bullet back to that guy because he told them that he said, well, this technically doesn't belong to me, it belongs to the guy's name escapes me, so they brought it back to the congressman who had shot him, and he claimed that because of statute of limitations it no longer belonged to him and didn't want to take the bloody lung covered bullet.
Different times.
Yeah, different times for certain. But interesting characters, to say the least. And hey, shameless plug here. If any of this history stuff is interesting to you, tune in to the new podcast, which will be starting in either 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I believe, entitled The Best Podcast in History, starring myself and Tiffany Ferresi. So tune into that right here on theempiremedia.com. And
Politics episode was supposed to air tonight too, but due to some scheduling stuff, I believe we're going to be looking to do that next week.
Okay.
So
Okay, cool. Yeah, Politics of the Empire.
Politics of the Empire.
With Adam, me, and Dorf,
Mhm.
our fearless leader. Well, he's kind of fearless unless you need him to take a stand on something. Then he kind of rides the fence, but you know.
Yeah, we took a political test on the last show, and Dorf rode the fence on.
Was it one of them that was like a Cartesian plane, like that had like the 4 quadrants?
It
No,
did not.
it did not.
Is he just smack dab 0-0?
He would have
got
been.
that.
Yeah,
But no, it was one where it had the middle option of unsure, no opinion.
Oh, so just
and
not
he
sure.
pretty much picked that like,
Yeah.
every time.
Ah.
I would say at least 25% of the time.
I vowed to not do that, but I did do it once. I believe I did.
You can only do that if the question's like worded poorly.
That's why I did it. But anyway, so hey, if you're into that stuff, you know, I mean, you're tuned into a JFK show tonight. So if you're into politics, check out Politics of the Empire. If you're into history, check out the best podcast in history, and always check out the XCast and Deep Issues. But you don't even know what the next topic for Deep Issues is going to be yet, because we don't know yet, because Pumpkin hasn't told us. So Adam is shaking up Pumpkin right now, and Ed is
Remember,
reaching
Ed, don't look.
Yeah, I know.
Ed is reaching his hand into Pumpkin.
I only have one.
Pumpkin enjoyed it.
Pumpkin liked every second of it. And now Adam will tell us what the next episode of Deep Issues will be. There will be 2 episodes of Deep Issues in May. This
Yes.
will be the one that will air on May 8th, I
I
believe.
think so.
Yeah, May 8th will be our next episode of Deep Issues, and the topic will be Mr. Hernandez.
Oh, okay.
What you got?
Bermuda Triangle.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's a cool one. That's different. That should be fun. All right. Bermuda Triangle coming up next on Deep Issues, May 8th. But we got a lot of fun, exciting things coming up before that.
And I will say there's 4 more topics left in Pumpkin before we replenish it.
And if you haven't been listening in the past, we have decided that we are not going to add any more topics to Pumpkin until Pumpkin is empty. So there are 4 more in there. So sometime around...
July 10th will be the last one. And
Okay.
New topics will be...
Okay, and then we're
Thank
July
God Ed's
31st.
here, because we would have been racking that.
I know. Ed's a math guy. Where me and Adam are like, it'll be
Probably December.
soon.
Probably December.
Yeah, it'll be like soonish, I think, is when we'll have it. It'll be 4 times from now. But that is the case. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. This has been Deep Issues on theempiremedia.com. Hope it was informative. I do feel like this is one where we gave more questions than answers to the people out there. We raised more questions and provided more answers, but that's sometimes what you do when you're prodding issues deeply.
See you guys.
See ya.
See.